Today I'm going to show you how to make a roasted herb turkey. I'm going to take you through all the steps and all the tips and tricks for making sure that you have a moist, tender turkey every single time that is bursting with flavor, not just on the outside in the skin, but inside with the meat as well. This is perfect for dinner, a dinner party, or Thanksgiving, obviously, with all the sides. And it's just phenomenal. If you're enjoying this video, be sure to hit the subscribe button below and click the bell icon to be notified every time I post a new and delicious recipe. We're just gonna get into it. So we're gonna do an herb kind of crusted turkey situation. And so I've got my turkey here. It's in its roasting pan. I have pulled out its gizzards, which we are gonna cook in a little stock, and we'll add that into our gravy. You can stuff them back inside if you want, whatever you wanna do. And then I've got my neck here, which I'm actually just gonna put in my roasting pan, and I'm gonna let that kind of cook, and we're gonna get all of those fun, flavors and that meat. And I mean, somebody can eat it if they want to, but that person's not gonna be me. Okay, so we are going to tie our little turkey legs. Some of them do have metal pre-trussing, but I don't know. All right, so just go ahead and take some kitchen twine, some butcher's twine, whatever you want to call it. And we are gonna start on one leg, and then we're gonna do basically a figure 8 around his little legs, and then we're gonna cinch it. You can pull his tush up if you want. You could truss it like a chicken. You can watch my chicken video up there and you can see how I do that. But honestly, it's huge and I don't feel like doing that this morning. So we're not going to. So anyways, grab his little legs and do little figure 8s. And then they will gradually tighten themselves essentially. And that's all that matters, right? And then just tie it in a little bow. Something easy so that you can take it off later. Snip off the excess that you use for no reason. And then put that in the garbage. All right, now we're actually sort of ready. I am going to fuss with him later, but I'm gonna cut my herbs first. So I'm gonna actually stuff some herbs underneath the breast, the skin, so that you kind of get that flavor that permeates, and then I'm gonna shove some inside because why not? So he's gonna go over here. Oh my goodness gracious. Right, so we've got some rosemary. The amount is not particularly, important. It is whatever you want to use. If you don't like rosemary as much, rosemary is a very powerful flavor, so, you want to use a little less of it. You know me, I love rosemary and rosemary is life. But if that's not how you feel about it, then I understand-ish. And I support you. And then we're not even gonna pretend to do anything fancy with it. We're just going to go ahead and give it a nice rough chop here. If you see that you've forgotten a larger stem, pull it out. That's not gonna taste very nice. Let's do sage next. Wow, that's a lot of sage. So just to kind of pick unlike that one where you kind of pull off the little leaves, we're just gonna kind of pick these off. Now, sage, we gather and we shove all the smaller pieces inside the bigger pieces. If they fall out, that's okay because we're just gonna chop them up. So then you kind of roll it up and then you slice. Now this is a chiffonade, in case you wanted to know, fancy French term for this, but we're not gonna leave it like that. We are going to turn it around and then chop it. So I don't want long strands of sage about. I like little pieces kind of around the same size as the rosemary. You don't want strings of sage. It doesn't even sound good. No, it does not. And then thyme, our least and best friend. So we're gonna take some, put it over here, because I don't feel like picking all of this thyme, and we'll just shove it inside. I'm trying to find the big long strands that are easy to pull off, and there are none. And I'm kind of upset about it because picking thyme is the actual worst activity. All right, worst activity over. That's it, the hardest part of the day. And then we are gonna, let me clear this up, and I'm gonna show you how to get it inside. we are going to separate the skin from the breast. The easiest way to do this is generally from the neck. And I'm just going to basically run my hand up here. And, you know, turkeys have a little bit kind of thicker, like a thicker layer of fat, a thicker layer of like that connective tissue than chickens do. You still just have to be patient. Just like with chickens, you don't want to tear it. There's already some tears here that I didn't do, and I'm a little bit upset about it, but it's okay. I'm recovering. It's gonna be fine. So we're just, I'm just gently, I'll try and show you. I'm like gently kind of using my finger to break down that, kind of break that connective tissue while pulling gently with the skin. I suggest doing this not in your roasting pan. If your roasting pan has this like giant handle, this is actually making it quite challenging. You can also switch and see if it's easier to go from kind of towards the tush, but sometimes I find, especially, you know, with a smaller bird, that can tear a little more easily. Down here, it's a little bit more delicate, but whatever you find easiest, I am literally just running my hand along the breast and breaking up that connective tissue. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna take our carefully chopped herbs and we are gonna shove them between the skin and the breast. Yes we are. And we're gonna try to do so and get as much in there as we can, but acknowledging that it's actually kind of hard. They want to like fall all over the place. They want to stick to everything that is not the turkey. They want to stick to you. Okay, now what we have done here is we have shoved herbs inside. Now that's going to flavor it from the inside out. It's going to flavor the actual breast. If you put it on the outside, it just kind of flavors the skin, and that always seemed kind of sad to me. So I'm going to take his neck and I'm going to tuck it inside. I'm going to try and tuck his wings. So I'm going to take his little wing and I'm going to try and tuck the tip underneath to protect it, right? And do the other one over here. This one, actually, his little, like the little tip of his wing is clipped. I don't know what happened to him in a former life, but it's okay. Now, I'm going to shove some of these other things inside. I had this just chilling in my fridge. If you have other things that you've been prepping with, say leek tops, or other kind of vegetable, carrot peelings, whatever you have, you can shove that inside as well, and it'll kind of flavor it. It'll also flavor the broth and everything that drips down. So now we're gonna do a thing, okay? So you could brush it with butter, and we will do so later while it's baking. But right now, initially, I'm gonna brush it with a little bacon fat. This is from my loaded mashed potatoes, I mean, plus some other things. But if you got a little bacon fat chilling about, which, love you already, then you can go ahead and take this and just brush it on. Now, I'm just gonna brush this on the outside. So if I've now contaminated my bacon fat, so I'm gonna have to, unfortunately, this is garbage. So just be aware of that. It's fine. Now, we are going to use the pan drippings from the bottom to make a gravy. Now, keep in mind that anything that you put on your bird now or during cooking is going to flavor that gravy. So I'm actually going to switch from bacon fat to butter for the rest of my kind of basting process, because I don't want my gravy to taste overwhelmingly like bacon. It's gonna take some of that herbaceousness because of the herbs that have fallen in there, the herbs that are flavoring the chicken or the turkey, and that's cool. I'm here for a herby gravy. So I have preheated my oven to 400 degrees. And I'm gonna bake it at 400 for about 15 minutes, and then I'm gonna lower it to 325. And then I'm gonna continue to bake it. This turkey is about 14 pounds, so it's gonna bake about 3 hours. It's about 13 minutes per pound. So you can kind of do the math on your own situation. You want the thickest part of the breast to read 160. It will continue to creep up to 165 as it rests, but I do like to make sure that it gets there. So the only other thing we're gonna do is put a little bit of stock in the bottom of our pan, and this is just to keep some of those drippings from burning. As you check your turkey, if it gets dry down there, add a little stock, add a little water to keep it from all burning on the bottom. I've said so much about this turkey. Just get in the oven, yeah? So our turkey's been cooking for about 45 minutes. After about 20, I did turn down the oven from 400 to 325. It is convection, but you could do 325 regs as well. And we're just gonna give it a little butter bath. All right, so you can see that it's already roasty toasty. If at any point you feel that it's brown enough, you are going to just kind of cover that breast or the thighs or whatever it is. Look, his little wingtip popped out, that little. You're gonna cover it up with tin foil. My mom always tents her turkey, so you could certainly do that as well. Just remember that everything goes in, it's gonna go down and float down there, so you don't wanna put anything kind of crazy, to baste with anything crazy. I'm gonna look at my pan and see if I feel like it needs a bit more water or anything down there. Yeah, I think I'm gonna put a little bit more water in there. I already added water once. I just wanna keep it from burning. Gosh, she's so pretty. All right, in she goes. She has like 2.5 more hours left. Goodbye. All right, so our turkey is out. I did tent it after about 30 minutes because it was a nice golden brown and I didn't want it to over burn or brown, and it also kind of protects some of these outermost bits from getting too dry. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this whole bird in the roasting rack and I'm going to put it on my baking sheet right here because I would like it to rest. The juices need to reabsorb and redistribute through the meat so it's nice and juicy. If you slice into it right now, it's just gonna all run out and you're gonna have a whole lot of juice and some dry bird. So, not about that right here. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna take our whole fatty. Oh my goodness, okay. I'm gonna take him over here. Boom. That is the nice thing about these roasting racks. You could also have baked it in a half sheet like this with a rack on top, but you want to be very, very, very careful when taking it out of the oven because you don't want any of that hot fat splashing on you. It will burn. It will be pretty bad. So I'm going to move him back to the back and we're going to let him rest, and about 30 minutes, to be honest. A bigger bird probably needs to rest a little bit longer. And then slice it. All right, our turkey has rested. So let's go ahead and first we're gonna snip our trussage. I made that up, obviously, that word, but just get, kind of whatever twine you use to tie your turkey legs. Get that off. First, we're gonna take off the legs, okay? And the thighs. So you're gonna go ahead and kind of cut right here where you can see it's already separating. You can see inside here and you're like, oh look, that's a turkey. And then you're just gonna you can follow what's the word I'm looking for? It's rib cage down. And then you're just gonna kind of go underneath, like how the thigh goes all the way down and underneath. You wanna make sure that you're kind of like, you're just using your knife almost, just the point essentially to really kind of separate that. Now, if your turkey is properly cooked, which of course yours is, then it's gonna fall apart essentially. It's gonna tell you where to cut it. It's gonna be great. So we're gonna go ahead and do the other side before we slice off our leg. So we're gonna go do the same thing where we are essentially just kind of separating it. It's already separating naturally, but we are just kind of following where it takes us. Okay, and then there's a ball and socket joint back here, obviously. If you find it easier, you can just break that and pull the rest of it out. I do find it easier to kind of like pull it, kind of like you do when you're breaking down a chicken, where you kind of just essentially just like bring its hips out. That just sounds so gross about it. So we're gonna move like the rest of the carcass over here. And then you're gonna feel where that other ball and socket joint is. That's where the leg attaches. It's gonna make it easier to slice the drumstick off. So if you kind of find that spot, then it'll be easy to slice and you won't have to really cut through any bone or anything. Now, again, we're gonna find where he is, and since it's perfectly cooked, it is literally just begging to be pulled apart. So there's our second thigh, or drumstick, second drumstick, and then here's our other thigh. So you can, of course, obviously, just pull this bone out. It is beautifully cooked, so it's going to pull out all on its own. And that is the magic, my friends, of properly cooking your turkey. So we're gonna go ahead and do the same thing with the other side. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you. You can also just kind of like cut around. I'm not cutting my hand, I'm just kind of basically picking the meat off of the bone as I go. And it's falling off because obviously it is beautifully cooked. And you can obviously slice this however you'd like. I generally just kind of pull that meat so that people can kind of take as much or as little as they'd like. And then you can take that and arrange that in a dish or on a tray. Same with this one, just kind of pull it apart. It's still quite warm, so if you want to slice it, you can do that. Next, be careful because your hands are greasy now that you've been fondling the chicken. Maybe that wasn't the best word choice, but here we are. So same thing with the wings. You can kind of manhandle it and feel where the ball and socket is, and then slice right there. But just be careful because your hand is greasy and mine's slipping, and I don't want to have, you know, any sort of accident. So the easiest way to keep that from happening is to just kind of, you know, wipe the grease from your hands, wipe the grease from your, now if you want to just pull it out, you can. Okay, wing. I mean, honestly, turkey wings, they're giant. It is easier to cut through the kind of the gristly part rather than the actual bone. So, you know, like that part that's in the ball and socket. If you find that, then just slice. Now, the only thing I don't love about doing a turkey this way is that then you're left with the weeble wobbly kind of, you know, rib cage. And so you just have to be careful. So keep your towel on hand to make sure that you aren't going to hurt yourself. So find the breastbone, and then you're going to slice on one side of it. This is very much like breaking down a chicken before you cook it. It's much the same process. So, and you just want to make sure you slice through that beautiful crispy skin. Now this is going to be very warm, so, and I'm just kind of separating it from the rib cage down there as I go, which you can see, sort of, maybe, hopefully. And I'm just kind of gently, I'm using my knife, the tip of my knife, to kind of make sure I get all of that good, white, tender meat, like so. Boom, turkey breast. There's a few bits here, but honestly, that's the bone. We did it. Now, you're gonna have to decide if you find it easier to slice from here or if you wanna turn it around and slice from there. It's totally up to you, but you just wanna be very careful and very aware of where your hands are. So go ahead and, oof, it is warm in there. Go ahead and you can of course use a fork to hold it as well. I have no feeling left in my fingers, so it's fine. So we'll just go ahead and do the same thing. I am gonna turn her so that I can kind of pull, it's warm, pull this side away. I'm using my knife almost as a lever, like so, to kind of just, you know, boop, boop. And since it is beautifully cooked, it wants to pull away from the bone. It is not giving any resistance whatsoever, and that is a wonderful thing. Now you've got that bit of connective tissue, and then you've got all of this beautiful meat right here. So just slicing as you're going down. Now you've got yourself, well, this is some good meat right here. But so you can go ahead and kind of pick off what's left. Maybe wait until it cools a little bit, because like, she hot. But we've got ourselves a beautifully cleaned turkey. And then you can decide how you want to cut your wings. So, you know, they just pull apart. So you can kind of, you've got, you know, the drumlet and then the wang. So, up to you. And that is how you cut a whole turkey. Yay! So I guess, you know, it's time to try. I mean, I could go get the gravy and like dip it in it, but I won't do that. But you can make the gravy, for sure. You should make the gravy. A bit of breast with the crispy skin. Oh, these herbs, they just like come through. It's nice and moist and tender, and just like fell off the bone, melts in your mouth. It's just like a beautifully roasted turkey.